Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'll be reviewing for you Dear Me, I Was for the Switch 2. I was initially very excited to try out this game when it was announced at the Arc System Works Direct, because it was done by the same people who made Another Code Recollection, which was my number 10 game of 2024. However, one thing that kinda slightly made me a bit nervous was the fact that the marketing said that it was for young women and it was a very emotionally driven experience, which you might know by now is not really my kind of game. I want to be able to have fun and I want to be able to stimulate my mind when I'm playing games. If something is overly simplistic for the sake of being emotional, like say drowning, then I typically don't like it very much. But what was intriguing about this particular game was that it had a very unique art style reminiscent of Hotel Dusk on the DS, a game that I never beat because it was a bit too hard, but I thought that it had a really good animation style, and Another Code Recollection used part of that animation for its credits scene. So I thought, oh, maybe it was hinting towards this. Unfortunately, there's really only one thing that I can say good about this experience upon playing it, and that's that the music is absolutely fantastic. Everything besides the credits theme is played by real instruments, so you get a lot of really amazing and melancholy piano and violin performances. And if there's one thing this game absolutely nails, it's making you feel really relaxed just listening to it. Like, if this thing was just a standalone album and it wasn't tied to a video game, I think a lot of people would end up really liking it. And now we get into the negatives, which is just about everything else. So the gist of this is that it's a very light, interactive game. There's no dialogue and there's no voice acting. You're just left to interpret what's going on based on what's on the screen. The animation style is called rotoscope, where they filmed it with real actors doing the motions, but then they applied a filter over the scene to make it look kind of like anime, where the characters' eyes are really big and they have those very off-putting expressions that make me not like anime. And at first, that was the thing that made me really interested. As I said, I really want to see a full game in this style of animation. But I must have had a terrible memory with what the trailer showed me, because I kept thinking throughout this game, why are the animations so stiff? And why is it that in mid-animation, a lot of the characters will just freeze in place, with no discernible reason as to why all of a sudden a person's hair would just stop moving in the wind? It kind of took away the immersion and kind of made me feel more annoyed than anything. The gameplay itself is almost non-existent. The most challenge you'll have, in air quotes, is that the character is an artist. And she doesn't have a name because there's no voice acting. She likes to draw, so sometimes you'll just drag the cursor across the canvas and hope to fill in the picture. You don't need to fill in all of it. The game will say, you're close enough, and then fill in the rest. Sometimes you just point the cursor at something and click on it, and then your character will do the rest. Honestly, I feel like they just put it there so that they could justify it being a game, as I really could have seen this as like a YouTube video someone made, but to call it a game, I don't know, I feel like there's even less to do than a typical visual novel here. And as far as I can tell, the story requires a lot of subtext to pick up on. As far as I'm aware, there's only 2 words in the entire game that are spelled out in English, and everything else is just visual indicators. So, if you are blind, the only thing you're going to get out of this is the music. Thankfully, you do have the options to adjust the music and the sound effects. And I guess I should also mention the sound effects are pretty nice when they are used. I think it does a good job of making you feel like you can hear the wind and the leaves and the effects all around you, which is very pleasant. But for a game that prizes itself on being very emotionally driven, the primary emotion I experienced while playing this was boredom. I was like, am I even doing anything to make this worth it? And then the other thing I kept thinking was, why is it that the main character is sad throughout almost the entire experience? Like, I could see chapter 1 why she's sad, like anyone would probably be sad at that. But even when she should be happy by a reasonable person's standards, she still finds some way to have that melancholy expression. And I get that maybe some people want to be able to relate to that because their life is terrible, but for me personally, I am an insufferable optimist, and I'm constantly looking for the positives even when I am sad. And so to see this overt negativity through 90% of the playthrough was really draining and really taxing, and it didn't really feel like the game paid off either. It was only 10 chapters long, and I beat it in one sitting, but boy did it feel like such a long sitting, especially because I needed to go to the bathroom really badly when I was playing this, but I didn't want to pause the game because I thought that that would ruin the music, because it flows so nicely and it does a good job of transitioning into the next scene. But then we got to the credits, and it was English lyrics sung by a native Japanese speaker, and we all know that those often don't turn out very great. The exception is Persona 5. I feel like whoever they got for that game really knows how to fake an English accent, but this person is not Lynn, and she could really take lessons from Persona 5 as to how to sing English songs, even if you're a native Japanese speaker. Plus, the music in the credits clashed with the music throughout the rest of the game. It felt way too poppy, for lack of a better word. It was just very off-putting. This game was not for me. I could see maybe if you're a young girl that needs to process emotions, maybe you'd like it. It does feature mouse mode, so that's why it's a Switch 2 exclusive, but I found that mouse mode was even clumsier than trying to move the cursor, so don't even bother with that. It is only $8, which, you know, is not a bad price. I went out and paid it because I thought, you know what, not too bad. But at the same time, I still feel like I probably would have been more willing to pay like $2 if I had known that this story would be so boring and draining. So I guess just ask yourself if you're more of the emotionally driven type or if you need more gameplay. And if you're like, well, Paul, I like these stories that have a lot of romance in them, so what would you recommend as the alternative? One word, Love Choice. That's a game I reviewed on the Switch 1, which is actually one of my more popular reviews. And that's a game that is also very emotionally driven, but you actually have to think outside the box to beat it. If you play it like a traditional visual novel, that gives you the bad endings. Whereas in this, nothing you do gives you a game over. You're just playing on rails, it's linear to a fault, and you really can't do anything wrong, making it feel like this would have been better suited for a YouTube video or a book. So I guess it really all depends on who you are. But if you're the type that actually wants to play a game, I cannot recommend this in good faith. I guess I was just hoping for better from the company that brought me another Code Recollection. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see if maybe there's a Hotel Dusk revival to fill that void for me. So with that, thank you very much for watching, my friends. I hope you'll let me know in the comments what you think of these types of games, because I really don't know what the consensus is. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye! Oh, and fun fact, if you're still here, that was all done in one take and was 100% unscripted. So let me know if you like those kinds of on-the-cuff reactions in one go. Alright, bye for real.